We are getting ready here for a twofold experiment today. One, to modify the one-up bike rack. Two, see how our new lapel mics work when we're doing videos. I am going to video the unboxing of part that we're going to install. What's in this box here goes on the back side of the rack so that when it comes to tilting it down to get access into the back of the vehicle, or tilting it up when the bikes are on, the handle's right here instead of way underneath where very uncomfortable. So I did not think that you needed to see me cut the tape to get access to inside the box. Look at the big bolts that this thing comes with. Big bolts. I have the wrench in the back of the Jeep, and these are the parts that are to use to put the one-up easy pull onto the back of the rack. There's got to be more in here, and look, there's other pieces. So not much for unboxing here, but here's several pieces that relate to what you see on the instructions. And somehow all this heavy-duty aluminum milled anodized, as one-up bike racks normally do it. Everything's heavy-duty and top-notch quality. This is the second one I've had. I'll explain that later, but for now, that's unboxing. Now I have to go get the bikes out and get a 3/16 Allen wrench and the security wrench that came with the rack. And we're going to start this. Whether I do an assembly video or not, I don't know. This is what they call an unboxing. So here we are in the back of the Jeep, and in close proximities to the hitch and where the bike rack is, I always keep the security Allen wrench. I hope this is in focus and you can see, but the security wrench has the cutout in the middle because the other end has a pin that allows not a normal Allen wrench to work, which makes it secure. Let's get started. Let's talk about this. Because the first thing I want you to know that One Up USA is right here in America in Wisconsin. And I'm not really that big that, oh, it comes from China, because there's so much stuff that's manufactured there by all kinds of American companies. But these are manufactured completely in Wisconsin. The Easy Pull is for their One Up bike rack, and it comes in various lengths. I only have 2 bikes, so I only got the 2-bike model. I'll try to zoom in here, and it's probably not going to be in focus, but it requires a 3/16 Allen wrench, not a metric one. Again, it's great. I have them both, but here we go. So this is a one-up bicycle rack. If you've ever seen it, you'd know what you were looking at right away. I absolutely loved my first one, and I absolutely love my second one. The bike rack I had in between was a royal pain in the tush. I hated it. The bikes fell off multiple times. This is what the bike rack did to our bikes. Because of the way they clamp on, they destroyed the finish. Mine's pretty bad. I may be able to get some rubbing compound, but these scratches are pretty deep. And Tony's, it goes all the way down to the metal, because when they came loose on hers, it didn't fall off. It just sat there and it jiggled around until it wore everything off. But this goes up and then it comes in on the tire. Same for the front. Comes in and latches onto the tire, and you can squeeze the bike between these two things tight enough that you get very little vibration out of it, and I never had a problem. But if you know any history about Gene and Tony's adventure, it was supposed to be on a cruise ship around the world for 3 years. Well, it turned out to be a scam, and here we are RVing and back to e-biking. And now we are improving our e-bike stance to help me from having to reach underneath this thing. What I'll do is I'll go put this on the back of the Jeep real quick and show you what I had to go through. I decided to move my work area up here to behind the Jeep because I'll be able to put the rack on the Jeep and maintain its stability. Things I want to show you about this rack, though, I'm going to do now. So I don't have it completely on the Jeep yet. This ball, there's a Allen hex head at the end down over here. And when you tighten that up, it brings that ball out and it locks it into the receiver hitch so you don't have any kind of wiggle up and down side to side. It's similar to the last bike rack in between, but that bike rack was made out of plastic except for where it went into the hitch. This one's all aluminum steel ball. Zoom in here, give you a reference. That's my finger there for the width of the aluminum that this thing is machined out of, and then the part that expands out. Everything on this frame is built, my father would say, like a brick shithouse, and it is meant to stand up and last a long time. One of the things about this one-up bike and the design, you can get them with one bike, 2 bikes, all the way out to 4 bikes. They give you longer struts here and more devices. Depending on your need, a one-up bike rack will handle a complete family. And what we're going to do here today is put a handle out here to move this lever right here. Again, I might not get the right reference. Here's how far that you have to reach under, almost all the way to my elbow, to grab that bar and make it flip down. And normally it's, oh, what do you have to flip it for? Well, when the bikes are on here and you need to get in the back of your vehicle, you like to tilt it down so the bikes come away from the vehicle, and then you can open up the trunk of the Jeep. Well, when that's way underneath there and you got the load of the bikes on there, it's not an easy task. So I'm going to install this suspension handle. They call it the easy pull. We're going to find out if it really is easy. So to start this assembly procedure, you have to put these threaded Allen screws into the side of the handle and insert these rods completely in, and then tighten down the Allen screws till they're snug. You want to have some play while you're putting it together, and then finish torquing and tightening once everything is in place so everything aligns right. But this is step number 1, was putting these rods into the handle. Moving on. The very next step is to install this keyhole plate onto the back of the rack. It's probably called keyhole because that's what's been machined into it. And what they've given us is 4 bolts that are extremely long to hold this thing in place. One of these here that I'm going to use is a security bolt. The other is not. There's a similar pair down there, probably for down on the bottom, where you can put it and somebody can't take it apart. I'm gonna pause. All right, the plate is secured now. I have it lined up at both sides, and the screws are fairly secure. Go ahead and give them a little oomph, tighten them down completely. Again, using this security Allen wrench. So there's some oomph. I'm giving it all I can. It's tight, it's not gonna come loose. I did not tighten that, so that's why we have wiggle here. That's the end of that step, and moving on. Step 3 is to install these brackets, the top and bottom bracket, to this arm that is what actually locks it into place. So again, highly machined invertible bracket on the bottom, and the top bracket's designed to go around the locking pin, and then the slides for the arm that goes up to the top. Everything's fairly well designed, and as they say and I say, we're going to put the bolts in, but not tight, because we may have to move this assembly back and forth to get it aligned. I'm going to do that, show you what I got when I'm done, but for now I'm going to pause. Continuing on to step 3B, although there was no B in the directions, this is in place and I can move it back and forth, so I can still move the thing to align to the bars that are going to come through the top plate. It's just stiff. The aluminum doesn't give, and if you use 2 hands, it works fine. And I have 1 hand holding a camera right now. Moving on. So we're at a step of putting these rod handles on, and the directions were really not clearest. When it says do not fully tighten these, I just thought don't torque them. But what they really do is leave a gap wide enough for this bolt to slide into that notch that you can see. Everything's machined, so when these things get compressed, they hold these nuts in place. Up there it says do not fully tighten, and I would just mean that is not to torque it. They should say leave a 1/2 inch gap between the plates until you get the next step completed. Plus, these nuts are not made from the factory to come off. They're Loctited on, which makes sense, but I didn't see that as how you put it together. Now some of the Loctite's gone, which I could always go back and redo. Not a big deal. but I needed to make note of there anybody watching how to assemble this. You leave a 1/2 inch gap between these plates until you get these bars in these slots, and then you can tighten it down and everything will hold together for lifetime, we hope. Moving on. I'll get back to you when I get these things tightened up. The directions don't tell you this, but in order to make sure that this is centered, I went and got a tape measure and I measured both sides and looked real closely that we're 1 3/4 inches on that side and we're 1 3/4 inches on this side. And now I'm going to tighten it down and everything should be lined back and forth. There's no mention of that in the directions, and it's something any assembler should know. I wanted to point that out. All right, it's fully assembled now, and I did have to tighten up the ball to keep the rack from moving. I normally put the bikes on that lower hitch just so I don't have to lift them as high. Part of the thing of getting the tilt to get them out of the way, thinking that even on the higher mount, I wouldn't be able to open it with the spare tire there. Go to the next scene and I'll show this thing tilted down, because it is still a little difficult because everything locks in really tight. Now we're tilted down. You see those racks. I wouldn't guess at what the angle is, but it's pretty steep because the bikes lean out pretty good a distance when they're leaned like that. Maybe I'll tape that, give you a show. But the whole purpose of this is that you could open this door up so far. Might not be able to open it all the way, but you can open it enough to get in there and get to your stuff. And then if you didn't have the spare tire, you'd be able to tilt it up and get it out of the way too. I'll show you that here. Out of the way, if you were to leave the rack on the Jeep and have to get around, it's much better than leaving it sticking out 2 feet without bikes. You can't tilt it up at all with the bikes on, obviously. Of course, somebody may question that. Hey, how do you tilt the bikes up? Do some editing of this video, make it all right if that's possible, and then wrap this up. I think I'm done. Okay, I moved the bike rack up to the upper position on the thing. Same thing earlier. I couldn't get the door. I mean, if I just need to get in a little bit, you could. But I'm going to take a second here and tilt it down, and then we'll go from there. I now have it in the tilt position. I don't know if you heard what I was saying earlier, because there's a big semi going down M88, which is about 100 yards behind me. They make a lot of noise going down the hill and up the hill. Anyways, I'll show you here. This is pretty sweet though, because the door still opens darn near just as far as it did in the lower position, to be able to get access to whatever we have in there. And there's usually a lot of stuff in the batteries and helmets and phone charge holders and coolers for the day. I think this $100 investment in this easy pull handle is going to prove to be well worth it. So I had to relocate the Jeep to give me a little more room behind it. But as you can see, my e-bike is up on the rack now. I'm not sure if you ever thought whatever you could call this in English, but this is a ride one-up bike on a one-up rack. And no, I did not really plan this. But I'm going to tilt this down and you'll see how this holds this back wheel firmly in there. And this is about all the shake you get out of this bike going down the road. And in all the miles that I've driven with a one-up rack, which is several thousand, not a lot, I guess, I never lost the bike on it. The previous rack I had in between these two, I lost the bikes multiple times. That's one reason why they're so scratched up, because the other rack did not hold them as securely as a one-up. And I'm not going to name names. I'll just tell you it was Swedish made. Look it up. So now we have the bike tilted down, as you can see, and it's obvious that we have enough room to really get in the back of the Jeep. When I had my little Cadillac, that gate would open completely. There was plenty of room. This is about where I'm going to get it open for when Tony's bike is on here. As you can see, there's plenty of room to access the back of the Jeep now, which is the sole purpose, to have it tilt down like that. And you can also see the bike has not shifted It's on the rack secure now as it is in the upright position. Kudos to one-up bike racks. Aluminum, US made. When I look at other bike racks, I compare them to this, and this one always stands out. And the other ones are just as expensive. So with that, I really like the one-up bike rack. That handle has made it convenient to use, has better function now. Anyways, that's the end of this. I'm going to sign off. You guys have a good day. It's almost 7 o'clock. A couple more hours, the sun will be down here, down in northern Michigan, and I might have to go to sleep, but I'm going to feel more comfort that I can tilt my bikes easily from now on. Goodbye and good night.
That's all, folks.